Hi, and welcome to Asian Heritage Month 2021. This is the Imagination broadcast. My name is Justin Poy. I'm the honorary patron of Asian Heritage Month, Canadian Foundation for Asian Culture, and I'm very proud to be putting on this special series of interviews this month for 2021, where I'm interviewing some very interesting and accomplished Asian Canadians who have broken through barriers, not only with their careers, but also in society and how Asians are perceived in Canada. My first conversation and first interview today is with Mr. Ali Kazmi. Now, Ali, you may know him from his many film and television credits. He is a very accomplished actor, producer, writer. I met him behind the scenes when we were producing commercials. He had directed a commercial for my advertising agency. He was a very accomplished and well-known Pakistani actor before he immigrated to Canada. But in Canada, he has definitely made his mark. You might have seen him in Deepa Mehta's Beeba Boys, and most recently he finished. He appeared as in a starring role in Funny Boy, which was another Deepa Mehta film, and it was Canada's contribution to the 2021 Academy Awards. My conversation with Ali will definitely enlighten you. It will inspire young Asians, and it will definitely show you a perfect example of a successful immigrant story. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to that interview now. Ali, thank you very much for doing this. You
Thank you, man.
finished Funny Boy, and that was Canada's submission to the Oscars. How was that? Tell me about that.
It was honestly like a transformative experience. It was, first of all, in this day and age, how things are slowly changing with the arts and media, and how BIPOC performers. We'll talk more about that, but how BIPOC performers are becoming a mandate and very important. There's someone like Deepa Mehta who has been fighting this cause and doing this thing for decades. So it's my second film with her, and she's someone that is.
She likes you. You were in Beeba Boys. Yeah, I remember that movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And yeah, you enjoyed that one because you like the suiting, the thick styling of that one.
I love the clothes. Yeah.
I know. But yeah, a Funny Boy was beautiful. We shot in Sri Lanka. We were there for 2 months, and we got to be with there was an Indian crew, there was a Canadian crew, there was a Sri Lankan crew. I was one of the one of the only Pakistani Canadians that got to be in the show, and it really was an amazing experience to shoot that, with being one with the people and with the culture, and telling important stories of the subcontinent that actually, even though it was set in the 70s, it is very relevant today. It's the coming of age story of a gay kid in the 70s in Sri Lanka, and what happens to the family and what he goes through to find love and whatnot. And then there's a civil war between the Tamil people and Sinhalese people, and then eventually the family has to leave, and no matter what opulence or whatever you come from, when a tragedy hits, I think what we've understood from last year as well is, when a tragedy hits, unfortunately, we're all one and the same. We're all human, and the whole family has to move to Canada and leave everything that they've built behind and move here as refugees. That's now, kind of the end of the film. So,
how are you particularly perceived overseas? Because you are from Pakistan, but you are Canadian. How are you perceived to overseas audience being Pakistani-Canadian?
Well, I think first of all, I think a lot of people don't realize as to how long I've lived in Pakistan. So I grew up there, and I moved to Canada at 25. Yeah. So actually, from 0 to 25, I've been in Pakistan. And then I moved here about 14 years ago. Yeah. So I'm 39 now, which is getting closer and closer to the big 40. But but I would say that I think that for me, my goal always in my life was to be an international performer, and art should not have boundaries, in my view. And I think if you have something to say, and if you have something to give, you have a talent, you have something to give back, you should. And I feel that you shouldn't limit it to being in a certain place, or just limited to a certain amount of industry. So I think that people have appreciated that, because before I moved here, I was already a well-known Pakistani actor.
Right.
And then I moved here and I started from scratch, and I went to film school, went to drama school. And yeah, here we are. I'm
How was
working in
that?
film
How
and
was
TV and
that
stuff here. So
starting from scratch? How was
it was shh, breeze.
that?
you know, uh, you don't realize it until you do it, and then you truly realize, and you have so much respect for all the immigrant families that have come before you. And you truly realize, you've seen it in movies, you've seen it in things, and in blurbs here and there, but you realize it firsthand that all those parents, you have respect, you have mad respect for all those families and all those parents that tried to give um, their kids a better life or something different, something that they didn't have, and you respect that so much that maybe they would be doctors or engineers or artists or whatever back home, from whatever country they came from, you know. And especially us as Asians and South Asians, I mean, I feel that that's a big thing. We have the tiger parent thing. The parents want the
Right.
best for the kids. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because they go out of their way, and sometimes you meet these amazing families where it's like they were um, something else in their country, and now they're here driving a cab or doing
Yeah.
real estate or something else, all respectable things, but they've given up their dream just so they can make a better future for their families. And so you realize all that, and that comes with a responsibility. So I took it very seriously, and I knew that when I moved here, I wanted to make something of myself. I wanted to make my parents proud. My parents are still back in Pakistan, and they're actors and directors as well. So it was something of a, I really wanted to take the legacy forward. There was no film schools when I moved here. There were no film schools in Pakistan, I mean, when I moved here. And so I really, really wanted to make that global impact as a Pakistani Canadian. I wanted to um, make my voice be heard, and I wanted to be counted. And it was rough. It was rough starting from zero, because you have to put your ego aside. You have to put everything sort of, you have your experiences, you keep them in the back of your mind, but you have to unlearn so many things and sort of really be broken down so you can build yourself up again. It's one of those things. And I found it if you take things positively, I found it an amazing experience, because it's something that is challenges you. And if you're up for it, there's sky's the limit. So yeah.
Now you've been working in the like since you've been in Canada, you've been in the industry for many years now, and you and I met in production actually.
Yes.
And so you've been working behind the camera, in front of the camera. So I want to start out with the big question: is we always talk about Asians not getting token roles or stereotypical roles. Do you feel that there's been an evolution since your time here in Canada, or I mean, has it evolved at all?
That's a very pertinent question, because I really do feel it has. And I feel it has um, the world over. I think because this is one of the good parts about social media. One of the few good parts about social media, and the advent of sort of people's voices being heard, and a community sort of more coming more to the forefront and being heard. Before, you would have movements and a lot of things, and a lot of activism would just go unheard. But now I think because of social media, there is a voice that can be heard from most communities. And if people that have the influence and have the fame, or are in, are known by their communities and the world at large, can make a difference. I think that has caused, and there's movements um, like the BLM, that has given Black Lives Movement, that has given so much rise to all other communities as well, which is amazing. And BIPOC has become like a mandate and an important thing for industries worldwide, for art industries worldwide. And that evolution, I mean, slowly and steadily was happening, but it was very slow. Like there would be, still be the token roles of the store owner, or the terrorist, or the martial artist, or just a guy with umbrella with accent, right? That kind of stuff, which is really disturbing to me, because I came from an industry where, where I was mainstream, right? Where my
Right.
people were mainstream. So it was very jarring at first. And if you remember, I told you this back then, like a decade ago now, Justin, that when I was working for China Syndrome Productions and as a director and producer, I remember that I just started to direct, and I realized that the ads, the ethnic ads here looked like they were in the 80s, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, why? Well, what is happening? Like, it's only because the client and the people in power just didn't have enough imagination or foresight, or weren't even clued in with the rest of the world markets that, look, man, these are not just immigrant people. These are not just one community. They are mainstream, you know? So it's time for us to, and I'm happy that, because as time has gone by, um, I'm thankful to so many that came before us. You know, the Sidney Poitiers, the Denzels, the Jackie Chans, the Jet Lees, the Bruce Lees. You know, the Halle Berrys, the all these, the Sandra Oh, the Lucy Liu's. You know what I'm saying? The Priyanka Chopras, the Mindy Kalings, the Aziz Ansari's, the Kumail Nanjiani. All these people that have done so much. You know, in many ways. You know, you may take them as just, you know, being the funny guy, or being the, you know, the sort of the token friend or whatever. But no, they slowly and steadily, just like myself, slowly and steadily, we worked our way up, just to have that. You have to take those roles. You have to take those strange roles at first, you know, a little bit. You have to bear that, but slowly and steadily, you make your way. And as soon as your voice is heard, you have to make it a point to say, look, we need characters that are fleshed out, that are real, that are complex, because we are more than just being black, white, blue, black, yellow. You know, we are a people that come from a rich heritage and a rich culture, and we need to be heard. We are mainstream. You know, it's not just, you know, that whole thing of, oh, but that's mainstream. The white the white ads and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the white stories, they're all mainstream. But, you know, no, you're not brown enough, or you're too brown, or you're not Asian enough, or you're not Asian American enough. You're just too Asian. I mean, it's just, it's we took it for a long time, and I think it's quite belittling. It was really not the right way to go. And I think that slowly and steadily, I really commend all the artists and all the people in general that have had fame or influence and used it correctly. I really salute them, because I feel that is where the change is coming from. Because it's only when you become part of the decision makers. And what I always tell people is that, look, don't be afraid to get on boards of things. Just like you, Justin, I commend you for that. You always have been at the forefront of, you know, of the Asian community. Sort of, you know, um, you have to get to positions where you can make the changes.
Yeah.
You know, and we fail. Rosa Parks so rightly once said, you know, that it's that first step. We have to take that first step, and we only fail if we fail to try. You know, and that is a big problem, because I think that a lot of people say that, oh, you know, I'm just going to quietly go under the radar and just not, you know, just do my thing and make the money. That's fine. I understand. You know, times can be tough, but you have to make your voice heard. You know, no matter, it's not about big or small. It's about, you have to make your voice heard. And the truth is, for myself as well, I stopped taking the terrorist roles and the token roles. I said no. You know, this is unfair, and you do it for a while, but then
You've
it's
gotten some roles before. I mean, you've taken some great roles where they're completely independent. Do you feel that when you are when Asians are auditioning for a role that has
yeah,
nothing to do with culture or their heritage or anything, it could be, you know, the police detective, it could be the, you know,
yeah.
all the different professions that we are. Do you feel that Asians get the same shot at that role?
You know, Justin, what happens is, there's I feel that there's eras of tokenism. It's really funny, but we go through it. It goes through the gambit, right? It starts with, you know, it which community has been there the longest, or has made the most impact. So, it's it started with the African Americans, the black people, where it was, you know, it took a while for them to break in, even though they were contributing so much to the arts and sports and culture, and just the fabric of American society. It took a while for them to break in and be counted as leading men and women, you know, of the industry. So that broke some barriers. Then it was the Asians, where it was, you know, oh, just they're gonna come in as the villains, or the martial artists, or just, you know, just the cool slick, like, one liner and then gone, you know, or the store clerk with a thick Asian accent. You know what I'm saying? It was terrible, man. It was just, it was stereotyping to its max. And then now I feel it's time um, for us, for South Asian people, in the sense that, once the African Americans broke the barriers, the Asians broke the barriers. Now it's the South Asians' turn, where now it's like we went from being the tech geeks to the friend number two to, to the funny guy, to, the token hello, how are you, the
Yeah, yeah.
Apu, you know, which Hank Azaria recently apologized for doing that voice as well in Simpsons. Even though it was a beloved character for so many years, it's sad that, it was
When I
not
think
even considered.
stop doing that now, he won't do that anymore, right? He won't.
Now he won't do that anymore. But it was normalized, and it was just, the time was such, which is sad, that it was just so normalized that, oh yeah, okay, sorry for that to happen. But now, now it's the South Asians' turn, in a sense where we're making our way into being mainstream and leading men and women, and it's okay. It's okay to have that. It's okay to have, embrace our own accents, and it's okay to embrace the way we look, and it's okay to be. First of all, it was kind of almost, we felt shy or embarrassed that, oh, is it weird? Are we too Asian? Are we not attractive enough? Are we not, smart enough? Are we not cool enough to be in these roles? But that has changed, and that is slowly changing, and becoming, and becoming mainstream, becoming normal. So that's, I feel that, because of all those eras that kind of led to this now, where it's, even now, it's still a lot of fight. Like the Oscars this year, there was big time representation of BIPOC, and now it's almost as if just, it's kind of good. I mean, it feels a bit weird that it's almost like they're almost shying away from showing white people on cameras now, you know. But it's kind of nice. I mean, just jokes aside, it's kind of nice to have. They have to sort of tip the balance the other way, just to move the scales, just so that it becomes equal. Because we've been on the low side for so long. It's nice to sort of have the scales kind of get more balanced. And even now, a lot of times, I can say this for most of my Asian colleagues, Asian, South Asians alike, is that a lot of times when you see a character breakdown for a role, now you get, we all audition for leads, and we do them as well, and the lucky few, I guess. But it's still, they say ethnically ambiguous, or they say it's for everyone. But at the end of the day, a lot of times when you watch it back, or if you haven't got that role, when you look back, a lot of the times it's a Caucasian person, it's a white person that gets that role. So it's just kind of like, oh, we'll try it, we'll put it out there that we're trying, but we're not really. So I think it's important that change slowly come around, and that change has to be catalyzed. There has to be a catalyst. The catalyst is us. We have to be strong in our communities, put our voices together, be unified, be allies for each other, and get yourself so ingrained in the fabric, in the media and the art, that we are the ones that become the decision makers, tell our stories and flip the script and change the narrative. That's what we need to do. Form coalitions and form treaties, be unified, just so that it's a collective voice, and that collective voice is what is going to be the voice for change. And if you notice now, more and more BIPOC filmmakers are coming forth, and are on guilds, and are on boards, and are producers, and and that's what Chloe Zhao, the one that won for Nomadland right now, and people like Ava DuVernay, who's like in the forefront of things, Riz Ahmed, like Stephen Yuan, Sandra Oh, our very own Canadian Simu Liu, who's finally who's Shang-Chi, who's like the first Asian superhero. These are barriers that are being broken right now, and it makes me really proud and happy to have stories like Funny Boy, and have Shang-Chi, and have Minari, and have One Night in Miami being produced by people of color, and people from different ethnicities that are telling stories that are not just ethnically ambiguous or just about one community. They're about all of us, man. The world is truly a kaleidoscope and a rich tapestry. And I think it's time that we all get woke, and we all understand that it's okay for us to accept ourselves to be part of that. We're not just one community. The time for marginalization is over.
Yep.
You
Well,
know?
after 9/11, people with brown complexions
Yeah.
all had, I mean, there was a lot of hatred, there was a lot of division. And then, this year, with COVID, we've experienced a lot of anti-Asian racism.
Yeah.
And that's affected a lot of communities, because not just Asians, but actually just people who look Asian.
Yeah.
What do you think? It's a tough subject, and obviously something that can be cured overnight. But what do you think we need to do to combat this?
It's something I feel very strongly about, Justin. And it's something that comes out of ignorance and is bred out of hatred. And I feel that nowadays we live in a world, again, this is one of the negatives of social media and the negatives of prejudice, that is something that is, again, also what comes with the power of your voice being heard due to social media. Everybody has a phone and everybody has a voice, and there's a lot of good things that come out of it, but then there's a lot of bad things and a lot of hate that comes out of it, and that hate gets amplified as well along with the good things, and that's very, very sad, because we're suffering from a strange dichotomy right now, where there's a lot of communities and all the sort of people supporting each other, but yet there's also a lot of hatred and a lot of ignorance that comes from it. And I feel what we need to do is, one, is that like I said before, we need to be allies for each other. We need to speak up. This is the time, whether you're Asian, South Asian, African American, whether you're black, brown, blue, or whatever color, race, wherever you're from, this is the time to band together, and to band together for being a human race, and we need to stop Asian hate, because I remember that it's not just happening to one community. This is happening to all of us, and we have to share this particular trauma and make our voices heard, because like you said, after 9/11, this happened for years and still happens, that, even now when there's a mass shooting, and if it's a person of color that's done the mass shooting, it's a terrorist.
Yeah.
It's a terrorist act. And I remember being so angry and so hurt by the mainstream media over when this mass shooting happened right now of this massage parlor with all the Asian women that got shot in the States. And at the end of it, the police chief came on, the commissioner came on and said he was having a bad day because he was a white person. I mean, that was, to me, was baffling and just full of ignorance. I mean, imagine that there's a PR team behind that person. There are people that are actually coaching this man to say this. This is what you come up with? This is the statement that you come up with, man? Like this. So things like that, we need to combat that straight up. No, it is an act of Asian hate. It is an act of violence. We cannot just stay back and say, oh, he was having a bad day. Why is it that any other person of color is a terrorist or is a serial killer or is just the worst person out there, is just a person that is diseased? But if it's
Ali, why do you think that there's this innate need in human nature to lump everybody together? A virus that originates from the world, and then all of a sudden everybody's lumped into that, or a certain a person of certain ethnicity commits a crime, and all of a sudden everybody. What do you think that is? That everybody, this is almost like this innate human nature to just say, okay, well, you're all like that.
I think the issue comes from, anthropologically, we are all not different. We are one race. We're a human race with just differs in just environmental factors. But we have, instead of taking that scientifically and being informed and educated, I feel like a lot of it just comes from ignorance and just comes from not wanting to learn about other cultures or not wanting to learn. It's the same as what you and I talk about this often, is when I moved here, and Canada is still like a great example of still having a rich tapestry and still having very inclusive culture. But I feel that worldwide, and especially in the United States, I feel that tolerance and inclusivity is lacking. Where when I moved here, it was like, oh, you're brown, and how's your English so good?
Yeah.
Why is your English so good? I'm like, come on, man. Like, just if you just Google it, like, you'd realize that our school system is great. That we have a lot of, educated people. A lot of our, half the people that are doctors and technicians and making the country run are Asian and South Asian. You know what I mean? You can't just, one bad fish cannot make the whole pool bad. Of course, there's bad people all over in every community, in every society, in every country. We cannot take that and run with it and just take that as a blanket statement, because we are all more than just a blanket statement, and we need to get behind that altogether. We need to unify and say no, that this is not. I believe that we are all different, sure, but we need to celebrate those differences, and we need to come together, and only then can we make a difference.
Right.
Right now, I feel, you know what I mean? I think that the issue lies is that, oh, this guy's color is not like mine. This guy's look is not like mine. His eyes are different. His lips are different. His body is different. Their culture is a little different. But if you learn to celebrate those things and learn from them and say, oh, this is something I didn't know about the world, or this is something I didn't know about this community, and take it forward together. I mean, after 9/11, all Muslims kind of became bad. They became the bad guys, and same thing, unfortunately, happening with Corona right now. It's a disease, for God's sake. It's something that came, from an inexplicable, sort of an error that happened with nature, unfortunately. And it's something we are genuinely all in. If anything that this last year has taught us is that we are all in this together, and it was kind of nice to see that part of it. But then to see all this Asian hate, it really makes me sad, because it's uncalled for, and it's really, really just comes from lack of information, lack of ignorance.
Why do you think it's so difficult for people, I find, in the Western world to understand also that there's diversity in diversity? Like, there's many people who think there's no difference between Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka. Like, it's all one thing, right? And same thing, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, they're all. Why do you think it's so difficult for them for a lot of people to understand that there is diversity among diversity? I mean, if you call a Canadian an American, they get sometimes very offended. And there's even less difference there, right?
Exactly.
I think that is that it's so difficult for people to comprehend that there is still sub-diverse groups within these big buckets that we've all been put in.
That's absolutely right. I think what happens is that, in the Western world, sadly, we tend to get put in a box. We're a box, like Asian, South Asian, or just, it's like, oh, these guys all like spicy stuff and rice and thing, barbecue, great, they're brown. These guys like noodles and dumplings and similar things. Yeah, great, they're Asian, they're Chinese. Yeah, who cares? That is so wrong of the world. I feel it's just something that, and I think it truly comes from, again, we need to make our voices heard, and we need to say that no, actually, we need to try to educate people the best we can, and sort of get ourselves and get our communities in positions where we can make sure that doesn't happen for future generations to come. I mean, sometimes it's tough. You can't change everything, but you can make a change for the future. And I think that if we genuinely sort of stick together, make our voices heard, and say, look, hey, no, Pakistan doesn't mean that, I'm from Bollywood. Bollywood is India. Pakistan has its own industry. If you're Chinese, doesn't mean you love sushi. No, it's like, it's Japanese. I mean, you may love sushi, but it doesn't mean that it's part of your heritage or your culture. Everybody has, I think everybody needs to have respect for everybody else's culture and their trauma and their good deeds and their bad deeds. It's all part of who they are. You know, it's that everybody's complex. Everybody has their own rich histories, which we need to respect and we need to take it forward. You know, I feel that, for example, when you're in, you know, in North America, people take their heritage very seriously, right? You hear about the wars, you hear about, you know, Canada Day, 4th of July, you know, you hear about all these great stories. You know, all of these stories were also made on the back of immigrants. You know, I mean, it's the immigrants are a rich part of that history, you know. So that's what I always say. I say that, you know, we are as much mainstream as anybody. I think it's not just about ethnic markets. It is now, or should be, we're all mainstream, you know, and we need to understand that being different is interesting and being unique. And I think that the younger generation gets it, and I think they're way more woke than you know, many of our counterparts. And I feel that we should really, really just celebrate the differences and the differences of culture and try to understand them instead of just being ignorant and lumping people in one group and saying, oh, you know, you're all bad, or yo, these people are just all terrorists, or these people are all germ spreaders. I mean, it is terrible. It is just not, in this day and age where we have information on our fingertips, you know, it is really sad that we cannot see past that. And I think it's about time that we get into positions where we make our voices heard. And you were asking before about as a celebrity or as an influencer, or, you know, um, in a position to be heard. I feel that it is a responsibility, you know. Let's say you're not too passionate about it either. Maybe lend your voice to, there's so many smart advocates, activists for causes. Lend your celebrity to those people and, you know, become spokespeople for them, for marginalized communities, for people that cannot have their voices heard. I think it's important, and I think it's a big responsibility for us to give back in any way we can and support each other.
Well, this is Asian Heritage Month. May's Asian Heritage Month in Canada and in the United States. And, you know, this is the month of culture, and we celebrate all Asian. Yeah. And I want to thank you, Ali, for doing this. You know, this is, you know, we've known each other for a long time, and you've been a good friend, and you know a lot, actually, not just about, you know a lot about all the Asian cultures. And you work in front of the camera, behind the camera. You know, now I guess I want to end this off with you. You just finished off production on Pakistan's first superhero film. Is that it? You want?
Yes.
Can you tell me more about that?
There's not too much I can say yet because it's in post-production right now. And we'll be releasing some teasers and things soon. But it's Pakistan's first adventure superhero flick, and it's based on our own folklore, and it's absolutely original. And it's I'm super excited about it because I'm a huge superhero geek, and I get to play one now finally. Yeah, you know, and what's nice is that it'll have a global release, and you know, I'm happy to have that out there. You know, like it's again, it ties in to the same thing that I was saying before, that, you know, opportunities like this and movies like Funny Boy, which was Canada's pick for the Oscars, and you know, it's a completely brown film made by a brown filmmaker, you know. And then there's the superhero flick, and then there's Shang-Chi, and then there's, you know, Miss Marvel, this series coming up about the first Pakistani American girl that's a superhero, you know, that's been in comics, but now it's finally getting made in the series. And we had the first Black Captain America, you know, just now, and you know, that Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you know. And it was a very emotional moment. I got to tell you, I cried on that. You know, I did, man, because I was like, you know, they made a very nice little valid point of how, you know, it comes to the same thing of how, you know, marginalized communities get forgotten in all the wars and all the main things. We're all standing together, and we're all there together. We're all fighting, you know, together for that, but we're forgotten in when it comes to time to be recognized, and when it comes to time for things like, you know, stop making everybody Muslim a terrorist. Stop everybody Asian does not deserve your hate. You know, we need to stand together for that, and make our voices count. And I feel that I feel that Canada, I'm proud to say, is probably one of the best countries that way. That it really does promote, uh, you know, diversity and inclusivity. And I hope that in this world we're kind of at a weird precipice where I feel cancel culture, instead of canceling out people, it should be canceling out hatred, because I feel that we have to be careful not to get so specific. That means that we start to see race and religion and things as being divisive. We need to make sure that it is still one world, a human race, where I want my kids to grow up not seeing race. I don't want them to be like, oh, that's my black friend, that's my Asian friend, that's my white friend. I want them to just be, and just be able to know that it's okay to be who you are. It's okay to have an accent. It's okay not to have an accent. It's okay to be whatever color you are, wherever you're from. Celebrate that and be one as a human race. I think that's the most important thing for us right now.
Great. Thank you very much, Ali. Thanks for talking to me, and have a great Asian Heritage Month.
You too, man. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Hi. Thank you very much for watching the ImaginASIAN broadcast for the 2021 Virtual Asian Heritage Month events. My name is Justin Poy, and I hope to see you next time.